Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing a quick overview of Shock Troopers Second Squad for the Neo Geo AES, sequel to the original Shock Troopers, also for the Neo Geo. Shock Troopers Second Squad was released in 1998, sequel of course to Shock Troopers which was released in 1997 for both the Neo Geo Arcade and other home platforms. While the title does have Second Squad in name and it's very apropos versus calling this Shock Troopers 2. It has the same run and gun gameplay, but with all new characters and also new graphic style and sound effects and of course music. It was also released for of course the arcade MVS, home AES, the Wii Virtual Console, SNK Playmore also released it for the iOS, Linux, Windows via Humble Bundle, and Steam, and we also purchased it via ACA Hamster on both the PlayStation Network and the Nintendo Switch. This game itself was originally released, as I mentioned, in 1998 on November 6th in the arcade, in which came home on the Neo Geo AES worldwide in June 24th of 1999. This is a single or dual player game. Now, the gameplay system did have some changes in comparison to the first game. Rather than either the lone wolf or team battle selection from the 8 selectable characters, you can now only select from 4 characters and it's primarily more of the lone wolf style. There are some new additions, like being able to actually ride vehicles outside of separate designated stages. Like in the first game, you can actually only ride vehicles for those particular stages, a la Contra. And this game, you can actually jump into vehicles a lot like Metal Slug. As mentioned as well, the character size goes down from 8 to just 4. There are also some other gameplay changes, like in the first game where you actually had branching paths. This time around, unfortunately, not so much. You can choose between 2 routes, either via the naval or the air base. Other than that, most of the stages are pretty much the same. So there's only really a possible of, I think, 6 or 7 different stages compared to the possible 15 to 17 that you had in the first game. Otherwise, this game is still a lot of fun. It still carries that same run and gun gameplay. The control is still spot on. Tack to shoot, a bomb button, and also, of course, you have a jump slash dodge button as well. And also, as I mentioned, you can now hop into vehicles a la Metal Slug. Other changes, of course, are the graphic styles. With this being Source, they did use a lot of CG or computer rendered sprites like they did with prehistoric IL-2. So I think that's kind of one of their, I guess, hallmarks for this time and age during the 1997-1998 time frame. Some people may like this more. I personally prefer the grittier and more kind of 16-bit pixel art that the original had. I thought that had a bit more character, and I also thought it was a little bit better animated. That doesn't mean that this game has suffers from animation whatsoever. The enemies themselves still die magnificently well. They're well animated with their spurts of blood if you shoot them, or if you knife them, or if you use a flamethrower. They burn just like they did in Metal Slug and the first game. So there's still definitely that level of animation there. The music is still very driving and fast paced, and still easily revs you up for a shooting good time. Again, as I mentioned, the graphics are a bit different. Really, the only big negative and con with Shock Troopers Second Squad is that it is following a really, really good first title. That's really the main detractor to this game, besides slightly smaller level count, not as big of a roster as far as selection, and of course the art style, which I could personally take it or leave it. Like I said, I do prefer the art style of the first game when it comes to the enemy and character sprites. I do enjoy that you can hop into and out of vehicles in this game. And much like the first game, there's still a ton of different weapons and specials you can use depending on the 4 characters that you choose. It's still run and gun heaven, especially if you're chosen for a little commando, a little mercs action, or even if you're looking, back to some of the old Toa-Up Games that did a lot of the run and gun as well. The music is a bit more techno style, though the one thing that is surprising with the gameplay itself is the character balance. You'd think that with a smaller roster of only 4 characters to pick from, they'd be more individualized and a bit more balanced in their gameplay. There's definitely a more OP character who actually has a 3-way spread shot as default, which, of course, in this type of game, definitely gives them a leg up. It's almost like an easy mode in comparison to the other 3 characters. Overall, it still does give this game a good solid 7 out of 10. The graphics are by taste. They are well animated, even though they do rely on a lot of CG rasterized style graphics, which some people might like more than others. Personally, I don't think it aged as well. The animation, however, is still very smooth, very well animated, great sound effects with the voices, the techno soundtrack, and of course, for each and sound of every weapon, an explosion is nice and crisp. The replay value is a little bit lower in this title. I would say it's more of a 6.5 out of 10, just because of the less choices or less number of choices when it comes to the different paths that you go through throughout the game. Gameplay, however, is still a 9 out of 10, as it's still a lot of fun to play this game. And I may be sounding a bit ad nauseum if you are going to try to pick this up physical. Again, I would check the Japanese game sellers. You can probably find a decent, at least complete inbox for not too bad of a price. It is a bit of a niche title, so they didn't make quite a lot of these games, so they're going to be pretty expensive. That said, it doesn't mean you can't play this game whatsoever. Digitally, you can pick up this game on Steam, Windows, good old-fashioned games, and Humble Bundle. For the consoles, it is easily readily available on the PS4, I believe also the Xbox. I haven't checked for the Xbox version. I personally played more often on the Switch, especially as on the go. It's such a small title, yet a fun to play even on tabletop mode. And literally with the Neo Geo 4-button setup, you can easily play and enjoy using one Switch console. And especially with the price of only $7.99 for regular or $3.99 on sale at the eShop, really hard not to pick up and choose this title, especially when it's on sale. Again, if you're a fan of top-down run-and-gun shooters, easy no-brainer, still worth a pickup. Not quite as good as the first game, at least for me. For me, the first Shock Troopers is still the better game, but both games are pretty niche and not quite as well known, so you could find yourself playing a nice little fun hidden gem here as well. Again, it's still very much like Commando, Merc style type of gameplay, maybe a little bit of Total Carnage brought in thanks to the kind of rewards and scoring system. So thanks for watching this quick overview. Please like, subscribe, and this weekend I'll be posting King of Fighters 2000.